Hello everyone, it's Prof. Schiess, and we're going to be talking about rationales, or how to present your analysis. The word rationale is part of something called an argument, which is how you would present your analysis in a paragraph in your discussion section. There are three elements. The first is a claim. So you would start your paragraph with a statement of a debatable idea, an assertion or conclusion you want to make. So that tells the reader this is the focus of that paragraph. You would then provide support or the material that substantiates your claim. Sometimes this is an analogy, a story, an illustration. It could be a secondary source. But for discussion, it's likely your field research data. So you want to tell your reader, here's the survey number, the interview quote, the recording or observation, notes from my artifact analysis. Here's what I have to support that claim. So you've provided evidence, but maybe your reader doesn't see the connection, or I need a little bit more than that. So it would substantiate with the rationale. The rationale is an explanation, premise, or reasoning for how the support, supports your claim. So things like, is that data truly sufficient or relevant enough to hold that claim? Or is there any other backing you have to make that support stronger to hold that claim? Or as a reader, I'm asking, what should I really take away from this claim and support? I mean, we're getting dense information and data here. What am I supposed to understand? So we have claim, support, rationale, and you really need all three of those parts in your analysis. The support grounds it, but the rationale develops it, and then the claim guides it. You need all three parts. If you're missing one, your reader's just going to be confused or unconvinced. So claim, support, rationale together makes one argument. So I'm going to preface now that when I say argument, I also kind of mean paragraph. You might have learned that a paragraph is 5 sentences or has to have this structure. We're gonna set that perception aside and focus on a paragraph is one argument. And you take however many sentences you need to make that argument. As long as that argument is one argument, so one claim, one support, and rationale. So we don't want to put too many claims together or too many pieces of data. We just want one claim, one support, and whatever rationale you need to make that argument complete. And that will be your paragraph. So I'm going to tackle some key ideas real quick. First, what's the difference between a claim and opinion? Well, a claim can be grounded in evidence. An opinion just originates from you. So you could say something like, veganism is a healthy diet alternative for people with certain conditions. You can argue that. What conditions? How is it beneficial? But you wouldn't say veganism is the best or veganism is the worst. That's opinion. You want to claim. We also want to avoid the phrase X or whatever your topic is important or necessary. We say that's more opinion than claim because what I find important is probably different from what you find important. I mean, for teaching, I'm highly invested in teaching. I love English. But if you're in STEM, you probably hate this class. That's okay. So I would avoid then saying, hey, X is universally loved. English is universally necessary. Not the case. So instead I would say maybe English education has more benefits than it has negatives. Or English education has a critical impact for STEM majors. That's more argumentative, more claim-oriented, rather than just saying, it's important, trust me. All right, next up, just to reiterate again, we got claim, support, rationale. Here's an example from SpongeBob. I hope SpongeBob is still relevant for you guys. You can see the text though from the video in case you can't look it up, where they have found Patrick's wallet and they're making an argument, claim, support, rationale, making an argument for why this wallet belongs to Patrick. So looking at the text, can you find claim, support, and rationale? So students usually, they can find the claim really easy and they find support, but where's that rationale? So we have to remember that the rationale is taking the data and telling the reader how it's connected, how it's strong. So we see here that some data they have is the idea that this ID card has Patrick's name on it. It has this image on it. Patrick's right there. It looks similar, right? So we know that's the evidence. So the rationale must be that image where they explain how all that information proves something. They specifically say, I found this ID in this wallet. If that's the case, it must be your wallet. See that phrasing, those words? If that's the case, must. The author is making a rationale that's clearly showing how everything's connected and proving a claim. It must be your wallet. So you can borrow that phrasing too. Another quick thing, just to get out of the way, is sometimes students say, oh, it's obvious when they're discussing a rationale. And I'm going to encourage you to move away from that because it can be a little mean to the reader. What if I'm a bit confused? I mean, if I was reading science and we get heavy statistics, I'm going to be a little confused. And then you have the nerve to be like, well, it's obvious. It wasn't obvious. I'm struggling. You want to avoid that phrasing then. You also want to avoid it because if you're talking about a super complex issue and you want to boil it down to it being obvious, like, no way. That's such a complex topic. We're going to humble ourselves. We're going to be bias-free. We're going to avoid that phrasing and instead assert what factor or variable we think is strong or why we think it's strong. Speaking of strong or strength, the reason I mention that is because rationales can tackle two avenues. So rationale can explore relevancy or sufficiency. If you do relevancy or relevance, you're focusing on the quality of your data, how some aspect like the wording, the phrasing, or the content of your data is more than circumstantial. Like there's some quality about it that is just like, oh, like of course, that makes sense because it possesses that quality. This is kind of in opposite to sufficiency, which is about quantity. So it would be beyond a reasonable doubt, like the number of this item or the amount is just so high or strong that you have to believe it in a way. So an example would be, we're going to have some drama. Suppose you're borrowing someone's cell phone and you bust them for cheating on their partner. You could focus on the relevancy. So you could find a text message that has some content that's kind of weird. You would say like, dude, like you wouldn't text this to just a friend. It sounds like maybe you're cheating on your partner based on the content of this one text message. Then you could go the sufficiency route. You could say, oh, I kept scrolling and you're like, girl, you're texting this person 30, 40 times a day. That's way too often to text someone that's just a friend. So you see how maybe relevancy is the content of one message, but sufficiency is the amount, the quantity, or how long those messages are. So when you write an argument, you can have an argument for relevancy, argument for sufficiency based on one piece of data. Either avenue just reiterates to the reader why the data is so strong to support that claim. Here's some more examples. As I read through, try and determine if this is sufficiency or relevancy, and then also look at how the rationale enhances this support, makes it stronger. So here's an example. We have procrastination is a problem among college students. That's debatable. Some might say, no, it's not a problem. They grow out of it in college. Don't think so. So that's why I'm making my claim. It is a problem. My support, I did a survey, and 80% of the survey participants said they procrastinate often, and 5% said usually always procrastinate. Are you convinced yet? Maybe not. So you might need to say, these high numbers agree with Johnson 2012's findings, where 75% of students said they procrastinate frequently. Because both data have high numbers, this indicates procrastination was and still is a problem among college students. Another example. I have teacher education as a solution to helping students with ADHD or other learning disabilities. Some say, no, just medicate them, or no, they'll grow out of it. I'm saying, no, teacher education, that's the solution. My support, I did an interview. And when I asked someone how she would help a student with ADHD, the 6th grade math teacher said, I actually learned a new technique in our professional development a couple months ago. Are you convinced by that? I think it's kind of like confusing. That's why I need a rationale. The fact that this instructor specifically cited professional development demonstrated its positive impact, suggesting others could benefit too. So I hope these examples, you can determine if it's sufficiency or relevancy, and you can see how rationales really improve your writing.